हेलो नमस्कार सभी को. Hope you all are doing good. I welcome you all in my new video where I will be taking up the topic critical analysis of planning period. So if you have gone through my previous video, you would have seen that in one of the videos I have discussed about the Planning Commission and Niti Aayog. This video is just the continuation part of that. Here in this lecture we will try to understand what benefits has been achieved or what achievements have been recorded by India during the planning period. So planning period is a period where Planning Commission, right, National Development Council, where they chalk out all the plans systematically, and the government, with whichever so in power, they implement all those planning. So let's get into the topic. Critical analysis of planning, where the major discussions will be based on what are the achievements of planning and what were the targets. Before drawing any planning, few targets are always there. So keeping those targets in the mind, all the plannings are being made. So what were the what as per the planning period, because usually planning period goes for the 5 years. So in the 5 years, whatever the year is, there must be some major focused area. So how much government has been successful in achieving those targets, we will be discussing everything here in this video. So let's start. So first we'll try to understand like what were the targets. Let me have my highlighter over here. The targets here represents that each year what have been the objectives of government. Like in the first FYP, this 5-year planning, I'll be using this short form like FYP. Alright, so this first FYP, as you can see here, the year is 1951 to 56, which continued for 5 years. So what happened, the scenario I'll try to make you understand here, that when India becomes independent and when the partition of India happened, so there was a huge influx of refugees and the people and homeless people were there. Now the major target of government was to feed all those people and to provide basic amenities, housing and food. Basic was to provide food to feed that huge influx of refugees, those were coming. So that time the focus was majorly on primary sector. Now primary sector here deals with the natural resources, like who engage in agriculture, horticulture, everything. The production comes from the natural resources. Using the natural resources, they do the production. Okay, so here as you can see, the year 1951 to 56, this 5 years, they totally focused on how to increase the food production. Then you see here in the second 5-year plan, what the period is 1956 to 61. Again it goes for the 5 years, and they basically aimed at developing basic and heavy industries. So here basic and heavy industries relates to the steel, power, steel industries, iron industries. These are the basic infrastructural industries which helps to to gain the production or to give output in the economy. Third 5-year plan, as you can see in the year, it's 1961 to 66. They totally focused on industrial and agricultural sector. That means their major focus was to how to develop. There should be the balanced growth. I mean, agriculture sector should also go along with the industrial sector. This was their plan. And in the fourth 5-year plan, as you can see, the year 1969 to 74, that again it goes for the 5 years, and this time the government has become more concerned about the huge increasing and uncontrolled increasing of populations of the country. So here they come up with the measures, as you can see, the family planning, where so many measures have been adopted in order to reduce childbirth, unnecessary childbirth, right? The reason just to control the population. So this family planning measures has been introduced in this year, which was very important step in order to control the population of controllable increasing population of India. Then in the fifth 5-year plan, as you can see, the year goes from 74 to 79, right? It again goes for the 5 years, and they're basically they totally focused on achieving high growth rate, equitable distribution of incomes, and increase in domestic savings. Now these are some the terminology is quite technical when it comes to our subject. See, high growth rate is usually determined with increase in per capita income. Equitable distribution of income, that the gap between poor and rich must be lessened, right? An increase in domestic savings, that means to increase the habit of savings by making people or stimulating them to invest either in banks, post office, and one or the other way. So if you save, why would individuals save? The reason of saving should be that they must be given some incentive, right? So this was their plan in this was the objective in fifth 5 year plan, where high high growth rate, that means how to increase the per capita income, now to reduce the difference between rich and the poor and make them people understand the value of saving. They must save by investing in financial institutions. And as you can see in the sixth 5 year plan, the year goes from 80 to 85, again goes for 5 years. And here under the Nehru government's right model, employment generation was given more emphasis. So this Nehruvian model has been adopted. So here as you can see, TRYSEM and IRDP, these are the uh, schemes has been introduced, like integrated rural development programs, right? The purpose of bringing or launching these schemes is to increase the employment generations in India. Then as you can see in the seventh 5 year plan, it goes from year 85 to 86. Now the purpose and the object was to increase the food grain production, alright, and to increase the employment opportunities and productivity. This was the major emphasis, and I would say the major objectives. And lastly, next, not last, the next one is 8 5 year plan. As you can see, the year goes from 92 to 97. Here various structural adjustment policies adopted. Now here few things I want to add over here. The year 1991 was a quite turbulent period for India's economy. The reason, we have a high crisis of balance of payment. So now this balance of payment is something where India has to pay a lot. Okay, India might have taken a lot of debt. India's fiscal deficit was widening. There was so much chaos in India's economy. So structural adjustment are adopted. So structural adjustment, that means this is the major year, the year 1991, which is very important from economic point of view in history of India's economy. Here this LPG, that means liberalization, privatizations, and globalization, these major economic reforms had been introduced. So this structural adjustment basically relates with to increase the efficiency and investments by decreasing state spending. That means to privatize. We started privatizing public sectors, or we started encouraging private sector to come forward and do the investment in India's economy, right? The purpose was just to increase efficiency and investment, and it happened only when the state expenditure gets decreasing, and state expenditure get decreasing only when private sector are given more incentive to come forward. So till here we have discussed the 8 5 year plan. Now targets continued here in the 9th 5 year plan. That year starts from 97 to 2002, where again goes for the 5 years. And as you can see here, the target has been growth with social justice and equality. 10th 5 year plan, year goes from 2002 to 2007. Targets on economic development indicators. Now economic development, how to measure those economic development. So there are certain indicators has been there, like in to reduce infant mortality, right? Infant mortality means child who are less than 1 year, the less than 1 year in age, and they died. Okay, so that death rate of infant means the child who is less than 1 year, so their death rate should be lessened. It should be reduced by giving them proper healthcare facilities. Then increasing literacy ratio and access to sanitation facilities. This access to sanitation facilities again adopted just to give proper healthcare facilities. If you have a clean environment, if you adopt clean habits, that lot of disease, 90% chances are there that you will be safe from diseases. So this 10th 5 year plan, that targets was totally under economic development. So here economic development basically measures under three measures, as three criteria I would say, like your infant mortality and literacy ratio and access to sanitation facilities. Sanitation facility is something which is very basic. I hope you have heard about this cleanliness drive in India, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where toilets have been formed, right, for formation of toilet, because I'm talking about the year 2014 and 2015. As per the survey, that it was said that in many rural areas, 60%, 65% house, they do not have proper sanitation facilities, they do not have the toilets. So government came up with a lot of schemes, and they invested a lot just to make sure that people should have toilets at their home. Then 11th 5-year plan, as you can see, it goes from 2007 to 12. The targets on totally social economic indicators. Now when I say about economic indicators, socio-economic indicators, now socio-economic indicators are been defined under few measures or few criteria, like your GDP growth rate. They achieved the GDP growth rate. They targeted for 9% growth. Like for agriculture growth rate, they targeted for 4%. For generating employment, 58 million employment opportunities has to be created. Increase in wages of unskilled laborers, right? Poverty should be reduced by 10%. These were the targets under your 11th 5-year plan. And the 12th 5-year plan, that faster, inclusive and sustainable growth, very important. Why? Because this faster, inclusive and sustainable growth can only be included, can only be introduced only if you have growth. You should bring growth by reducing poverty, right, by reducing inequality. Here inequality means all type of I'm talking about, I mean, economic inequality also. That means the gap between rich and the poor, right, and the socio-economic also, socio inequality, like not to divide people based on their caste, creed and color and all, right, and empowering people by bringing balanced regional development. Certain if you have noticed, then some states of India are more financially prosperous than the other states. So this is the symbol of regional imbalance. So this imbalance has to be removed, right, by proper adoption of policies that promotes sustainable growth, inclusive growth and faster growth. So these were the targets we have discussed.